Okay, we're live now. We'll just give it a few seconds just to see if everyone jumps on. Okay, let's have a look. I think that's all good. Yep, there we are. Awesome. Okay. Kia ora, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Talking Futures, which is our Facebook Live web series where we talk to people in the community about their employment histories and their career pathways and journeys and the awesome jobs that they're doing at the moment. And we hear a bit of their advice for people who are looking for work at the moment as well. So we are very lucky today to be joined by Emily Vaka'uta. Did I say that right? We're going to hear all about your incredible job and your jobs in the past as well. So I guess I'll hand it over to you, but Emily is the Chief Operating Officer at Springload, which is very cool. And I think I'll just pass it over to you just to introduce yourself. So maybe if you just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you're up to at the moment. Yeah.
Awesome. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou, ko hui mai nei ki tēnei, I guess, hui topa, ki te kōrero te kaupapa i tō mahi. Ka nui te koa me te hare ki te tūtaki kia koutou, ko wai tēnei kei mua i te aroaro. Ko Ramaroa te maunga, ko Hokianga te moana, ko ngā tuku matawhā o Rua te waka, ko Ngāpui te iwi, ko Hereina te whata rawa, ko Madeline te whata o ku matua, and ko Emily Vaka'uta tōku ingoa. Nō reira, kei te mihi kia koutou. So just a little mihi to me, from me to you. So I whakapapa back to Ngāpui, proud North, and am living in Te Whanganui Atara at the moment. So I've been living here for, I did all my schooling here, went to university here, and then had a break in between and went to the Cayman Islands, which we can talk about.
That's nice.
And awesome. I am the Chief Operating Officer here at Springload. Shall I give you a brief blurb on what Springload is?
Yeah, tell us about what Springload. Yep, tell us about what Springload.
People are like, my mum thinks I work for a mattress company, but no, it's not a mattress spring form or anything. So Springload is a digital design agency. We have amazing talent here that work on both tech and design and create awesome products for all of Aotearoa. And we aim, I guess, we are a purpose-led business, so we aim to make the things that matter better. And I think that's our ethos as well. We're very pro looking after our people, looking after our whenua, looking after our te ao, so our environment, and making sure that we leave the place better than we found it. And that kind of threads through our work as well.
That's really incredible. It's good to hear that that's a big part of your work. Cool. So I guess one thing that we do like to ask people that come on to this series is I always like to hear about people's first jobs, or what was the first sort of, whether it was you got paid some pocket money to do something, or when you were younger, what was your first job, and what were all the different types of jobs maybe you've had in the past?
I feel like my first job was when I was about 16, and my dad basically said to me, it was school holidays, and my dad said to me, "You need to get a job." And I was like, "Oh, what do you mean?" So my first job was at New World supermarket.
Nice.
And I quite enjoyed it actually. It was quite good. I think it was the whole cash register really took my interest.
Yeah.
And then Yeah. And then through like college and stuff, did babysitting.
Yeah.
And then had this really awesome job actually at one of my most memorable jobs at Hannah's, counting shoes. Stock, so I was counting the stock form.
Oh, that's riveting.
It was. And at the end of the day, you got to put it into the computer.
Oh,
The one computer that was in the whole floor. I was like, yes. I have graduated.
Wow.
Anyway. Yeah.
That's a cool job.
Yes. Riveting, that one.
Awesome. So you went through university?
Yeah, so then I went to Victoria University, started doing a Bachelor of Commerce and Administration. I wanted to be an economist because I found that interesting at school.
Yeah.
My dad is an accountant, and, you know, I think in his mind anyway, the only thing you could be was an accountant. So when I said I wanted to be an economist, he was like, that is not even a job. And anyway, he was like, do you want to actually get paid? I was like, wow. Anyway, there was a couple of subjects I didn't really enjoy, so I did pivot to accounting, and to pique my interest in anything at university, I decided to pick up tourism as well.
Oh, cool.
And had this really grand idea that I was going to help Māori tourism. I was like, that's where I'm going. That's it.
Nice.
So I was going to do the business side and the tourism side. Yeah, haven't used tourism at all.
Okay.
Other than organising my own personal holidays.
Nice. So when you were going to university, you were saying there were some subjects you didn't enjoy. So what was the process of deciding what you were going to study? Like, was that pretty set in stone for you? Like, I like accounting or economics, or was it easy, or what was the decision like for you to decide what to study?
I think, well, this is going to age me, but I think I've always thought that my big thing is I'm real passionate about making sure that I reduce the inequality that exists for Māori and Pacifica. And I think that's carried through my whole entire life. And so in my head, I thought, hey, one way I can do that is by supporting Māori businesses. And so I was like, well, to do that, I need to be something in business. This was at high school.
Yeah.
And then kind of went through that journey. Then when I graduated, I was like, and when I actually started working, I kind of quickly realized that you actually have to have a seat at the table to actually affect change. So quite quickly, I think I decided I wanted to be a CFO. Yeah. And throughout my whole career, I've had my little kitty with me, and I've just been kind of, I think, like a sponge for most of my kind of early years anyway. Was like, how do I get as much knowledge from all these really smart, at the time, white people, and, you know, take all that knowledge and that learning into my little basket. And then there'll come a time where I'll be able to go, hey, I can share it now.
Absolutely. So, and that's a beautiful message, because we're constantly encouraging people to, you know, look at opportunities as ways to upskill and to add, like you're saying, to that kite. That's a nice analogy, because even if it's maybe not your dream job straight off the bat, you're going to learn from people there, and you're going to extract what you can from any job, like maybe even the Hannah's job, counting shoes. Maybe there was some character development in that.
Absolutely. That taught me a lot of resilience, that one.
Oh, well, that's got to teach you resilience. Absolutely. So it's a nice way of putting it, like just adding those skills. So yeah, I guess you've done work in different industries as you've grown up, I guess, through, you know, working at New World or working at Hannah's. So what sort of skills do you think you found most valuable that you've kind of gained from your experience or from uni, which you apply like every day?
I think that you learn the technical aspect when you're at university, right? You apply it throughout your work history, but the more valuable part is not necessarily the technical. It's the everything. It's the people skills that go around that. You could be a fantastic technical specialist, but like have no people skills, and still no one wants to hire you. So you really need to. I think it's given when you have the technical expertise that you can do that part of the role, but it's all the other stuff that I think is more important. Having EQ and having just being able to communicate with people and
And what would you say is sort of like the ways you can best develop those more personal attribute side skills? Because obviously the way you would develop those technical skills is like go to university or do courses online and things like that. But yeah, what do you think is the best way to really develop and hone into those personal attributes?
I think you learn through doing a lot, but also reading books and stuff about it. I also feel like having an understanding of your cultural identity, or understanding where you came from, how you came to be, is really important as well. And I think lots of times we don't appreciate the skills that sometimes you can go through life thinking, I don't have any skills to offer. I didn't go to university, or I didn't do this or that or the other thing.
Yeah.
But you actually have a whole heap of skills. And it's harnessing all those skills. So, even just being able to talk to tamariki, or talk to your elders, or, sing waiata, or, relying on the things that you are, that you're immersed in as well, is really important and valuable.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's really, really valuable advice, because like you were saying, people get really freaked out or stressed because it's like, I don't have that much work experience. But like, when you're young and you're just starting to get into work and you're looking for jobs, like, of course you don't have that much experience. But what you do have, like you were saying, is like rich life experiences. And I think employers really notice when you can sort of draw from those things and extract things. If it's like, I grew up in a big family and I always looked after my siblings, so I showed leadership all the time when we were growing up.
That's exactly right.
So I think that's really important to remember. So anyone watching, also, guys, remember you can ask questions, ask away. Actually, we do have a question from Thomas. Hello, Thomas. I'll just put it up on the screen. We'll take a little question break. So he's asking, what technical skill has been the most useful? Technical skills.
I think for me, it's my craft is accounting, right? So, if I want to do a plug for accountants, accountants are cool. First up, and we don't all walk around with calculators in our pockets. But I think accounting, for me anyway, or going through the chartered accounting program, gives you a really, really firm understanding of how a business works, and how just overall, like, it's not just looking at the numbers, it's more looking at the risks, as well as the financials, kind of how do you make decisions that are going to affect short-term, long-term strategy. It's very holistic.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, awesome. So I guess I'd be interested to know, what does the sort of typical day in a life in your role kind of look?
That's a really good question.
Yeah, sometimes a bit all over the place, but
Yeah, I feel like I go between a composer and a fire person. So, yeah, and sometimes,
everything in between.
yeah, yeah, I know that I've got to keep line of sight to the strategy. So there's quite a lot of those forward-thinking decisions.
Yep.
As well as kind of keep the ship afloat as well. So it's a balance between those two things.
Yeah.
And I think, moving into the COO role, it's I have to be mindful that it's not just about finances. So, and it's quite hard when you've had that lens your whole life to be quite financially minded when you make decisions.
Yeah.
There's other factors, people, long-term strategy. So how do you combine risks, all the rest of it? So when you're making decisions, it's based on more than just the discipline that you've been trained in.
Right. I see. So it's also looking at those processes and how they can be most effective.
Kind of.
Okay. Well, I want to talk to you about, you talked about people, and I want to talk to you about what your experience is like working with people in a professional work environment. And some people, like we talked to some people who are in like hospitality or retail, and they have these funny stories about funny kind of people encounters. Have you had any sort of difficult situations with people? And if so, like what's your sort of advice for working through that?
So many. I'll talk to probably some really interesting ones in terms of discrimination, because I think being a Māori female, especially being in the position that I am, it's often, or that I've had even in like in the past, and the amount of discrimination that's kind of just been normalized. And yeah, and I think it's now I don't put up with it. And I think anyway, so, and I've been in meetings before where people have, so I've been the decision maker, and because I've gone in with let's just say a white male, that person has only spoken to the white male that I've walked in with that was on my team. Or I've been completely dismissed in meetings, or because I will voice my opinion or stand up for something that I believe is wrong. You come across as being aggressive because I'm a female that's spoken up. There's numerous examples of those ones.
There really are. I'm just thinking of all the other ones. Yeah. And so I guess how did you sort of get to the point, or who are people in your life that helped you get to that point? You say that you really stand up for these things that you believe in, which is incredible. And it's really inspiring to hear you talk about that as a woman in a really high up role. And so who sort of helped you get to that stage of feeling like you really can stand up to it?
I feel it's like one of those things that are innate in wahine. I feel like, I wouldn't say it's a ngāpui trait, but it's definitely a trait, I think, that runs through Māori. We've had the legacy of fighting for what we believe in as well, and the fight kind of continues. And so I've never ever felt like regardless of whether I was a junior in a CA firm or I just started in banking, none of my journey defined who I was and I guess allowed me to be silenced, if that makes sense. So, I've always thought that leadership, I am a leader regardless of what position I hold. Mm-hmm. And so I think once you recognize that in yourself,
that's such a great mentality.
Not from an arrogant perspective.
No, but it's a good mentality to have.
Yeah, really. You kind of you can speak up, you can speak sideways, and you can speak anywhere, right? And that's the thing, I think, you have a voice regardless of what position you hold.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, if you're taking away anything from this, remember that, because that's beautiful advice and something we should, women out there should really equip themselves with. Take some of that confidence. But yeah, I can definitely relate to that coming from a Tongan background as well and being surrounded by incredible Tongan women in my life. So I know what you're talking about, and it's great. We have another question, so we'll just jump to another question. And this one's from Nate. Hi, Nate. And we're jumping back to accounting. So what is it that you like most about accounting?
I think that it was the platform that enabled me to fulfill that desire to help businesses, especially because at the time when I was doing my degree as well, the iwi settlements had just started. So I was real passionate about that. And I was like, I need to get my degree so I can go and help iwi. And then I finished and then went into accounting. He went into banking, so yeah. There's work to do.
That sort of like pushed you through your degree. I mean, universities are like, it's a battle. Like it was really, really difficult. And so that's really cool to hear that was like the passion driving you through it to get out, you know?
Yeah, that's right. Awesome. Yeah, and I think that's the main thing. It just gave me that vehicle to be able to go into and help the area that I wanted to work in. So
yeah, and I think that sort of speaks to this other question that I was going to ask you, which was like, what makes you get up every day and do what you do? You know, what's that motivation? So yeah, if you want to elaborate on that.
Yes. So
I think you've summed it up really well with, you know, helping those Māori businesses. But
I think my big thing was around I am really passionate about breaking that cycle of inequality. And so I think that's a big part of what I do. I know that when I get up in the morning, I don't want to add to the problem. So I want to help find solutions that will help, not disable. And probably, I guess, you know, knowing that I can help make a difference. I think tech, commerce, yes, accounting is majorly underrepresented in terms of Māori. Tech in particular is really underrepresented as well. Absolutely. And so I'm just like, let's get more Māori in, let's get, and from, you know, a working perspective, it makes sense. I don't want to commercialize the fact, you know, that Māori are benefit to business, but I do believe that you need to have Māori, you know, creating things and tools and websites for Māori to use. And it's like, it can't come from a Pākehā perspective when you don't see yourself in the product. Yeah.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. You know, having them change makers, it can be actually relevant to the people that need it most. And you've got to have that representation there. So that's really cool. We've got another question from Nate. I'll pop that one up. So Nate is asking, how have you helped others understand your cultural background and lens? I guess like you're doing right now. Often it's hard being the minority trying to help the mass understand in some workplaces. Great question, Nate.
Yeah, that is a really good question. I think Yeah, it's a hard one. I felt like, so when I first started my career, I started out in banking, and so I did a CA firm for a bit, and then I went to banking. In banking, I found like I was the brown girl in a white world, and so anything Māori, it was always like, oh, Emily, can you do this? And at the time, I was not confident in doing anything. And so then I went through this phase of, okay, I need to get out of this. And then I went and worked for Te Kongadero National Trust and thought that I wanted to give back, right? And I thought, I'll go to an organisation that's Māori. And so, but there I came, my technical background was all based on Western thinking, right? So you're going into a Māori organisation with this Western skill set, which was challenging.
Yeah, that must have been challenging.
Yeah. And then we went to the Cayman Islands where I became, where it was great, where I kind of felt a sense of freedom of not having to be anyone or anything other than myself.
Yeah.
And then I came back. So we were there for 8 years, came back to New Zealand, went back into hedge funds, and I think, and then I took Te Reo classes. And so that journey of going on Te Reo and being Māori in a Western kind of space has it kind of, I guess, it allowed me. I was quite free to introduce some more Māori initiatives, and then coming to Springnode, it's the same thing. I think now I can remember my interview when I interviewed here. The chair of the board was like, we want you to bring your Māori and Pacifica heart to Springnode. So it's like the door's open. And so let's do it.
Yes.
But it is kind of hard. It's that cultural tax as well that we all talk about, but kind of you don't know what it feels like, the sense of having to be or always be Māori as well as be technical. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's not
absolutely.
when you're any other race, you have to be that race and technical. You can just be technical or just be who you are.
Yeah.
But,
fully. It's interesting to hear about that balance that you talk about, being in a Western space, or these things that often we take for granted, learning these sort of Western learned skills and practices in a Western space, and then having them with you, moving back into a Māori space. That's really, really interesting. That was like something you had to really navigate. But it's so cool now that you get to sort of do you in this company. That's fantastic. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I guess I want to just speak quickly before we finish up. I do want to speak to our Nate says so cool. You see it down the bottom. I do want to speak to our job seekers or people currently out there looking for work. And you've had an incredible amount of experience in the workforce in various roles. So what would sort of be your advice to those who are looking for jobs right at the beginning of their careers? Yeah, what would be your advice for them?
I think what I've noticed is just in terms of managing people anyway, is especially with wahine in particular, I think it's just know your self-worth. And be confident in who you are. I think not in an arrogant way, but know the skills that you bring to the role or to the position that you're going for. You wouldn't have got an interview if the person that's interviewing you didn't think that you had the skills. And And so I think, lots of times we belittle the things that we have kind of our lived experience, or the things that we've collected, the taonga that we've collected, along our journeys.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, be confident in yourself. Really know your self-worth. So don't belittle the amount that you think you should earn as well.
Yeah.
If you if you bring diversity to the role as well, appreciate and celebrate that diversity that you do bring to the role. Everyone nowadays is looking for that. So it's not, in the past, people kind of would have, if I think about my dad's generation, it's different. It's different now. And I think that celebration of diversity is massive. And also the biggest thing I would say is that you have never arrived at your destination. Always be a tauira, right? Always be learning. I'm still learning. We're all learning.
That's great.
And make sure you bring your kite with you and you keep filling it, keep learning, learn off other people, learn off those that are younger than you, learn off whoever. But you never stop learning.
That's incredible advice. I love that. You've never arrived at your destination, and bring your kite with you. That's awesome. And all that stuff that you're saying as well about knowing your self-worth, I think that's such a valuable thing for all you guys watching out there. It's such a valuable thing to really back yourself, because ultimately they really want you. You're going to bring a lot. You're going to bring a lot to that workplace. And so I think that's really, really important advice to take with us. So thank you so much, Emily. That was extremely inspiring, very insightful, and so cool to hear about your journey. And I know I put some things in my kite from that. So there you go. I hope you all have as well. But yeah, thank you so much for telling your story and talking to us today. We've all learned a lot. You've got some thank you very muches from the comments. So I'll let you go now. But yeah, thank you so much. Kia ora, kia ora.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Yeah.